Hey everybody, Mo here, and today I'm bringing you guys some gameplay on Mono Demacia Elites. So I got this list just from someone on Runeterra.ar. I think they were like the second best or third best performer with the deck in Masters over the last week. Elites, for those of you that don't know, is this just tribal style deck. Tribal meaning they're all playing the same kind of card type or tag. In this case, this is going to be the tagline Elite. And yeah, this deck goes off of Battlesmith, where whenever you summon Elite, give it +1/+1. We got recently this essentially 1 mana 3/3 Elite, which all of you know, 1 mana 3/3s are very good. And then we just got this card called Blocking Badger Bear, which Blocking Badger Bear is a 3 mana 4/4. Stat line is already premium. But it continues to have text because Riot can't just make a good card. They have to make a really, really good card. And it says that this card, I can block units with Elusive. So this card essentially has Sharp Sight text built in. I'm sure they'll make this a keyword at some point, that I can block units with Elusive. And yeah, so it's essentially just a 3 mana 4/4 that stops all elusive aggro, which is really good. And it stops Noras from being able to get value, which is really good because Nora decks are typically good into Demacia because they can just create this infinite chump blocker chain of like, oh, I'm going to hit you with my Nora, create a blocker in like 1 to 2 turns, create another blocker in 1 to 2 turns. And they just like infinitely chump block you out and stall you out until they can do their crazy late game stuff. And this stops that. They get one attack in with Nora on turn 2, or they can open attack onto turn 3. And then you just get to play Blocking Badger Bear, and then they can really never attack with their Nora again. On top of that, you're still playing Sharp Sights and stuff, so very, very good. It takes care of Vanguard Elite, Vanguard Squire because of the mana reduction. So yeah, this deck is basically just play units the deck. It's getting a lot of flack because the deck is very, very easy. It's not a very complex deck. It's not very complicated. The lines aren't very complex. There's usually very few lines actually like think between each game. So because of that, a lot of top players and a lot of people are really hating on the deck, like, oh, why is the best deck in the game so easy or so stupid, and you can just kind of play cards down, I hate it, wah, I want to show how big my brain is by playing, you know, Ezreal Seraphine or something like that. But I don't really agree with that. I think that the deck is good, and I think that it doesn't matter the skill level of a deck. If a deck has good cards, it's allowed to be good. A deck doesn't have to be hard in order to be a good deck. The deck shouldn't have to be hard to be considered to be a top deck, you know? If the best deck in the game is simply just slam units down, then that's fine, in my opinion. Why not? Like, just let them do that. As long as that's not what every single deck is doing, then it's not like the game is hurting for it overall. Because there's one deck that's fairly simple and plays units, doesn't mean the entire game is, oh, this whole game is too easy, the whole game is, you know, stupid, all you have to do is play cards on curve. Welcome to Legends of Runeterra, Legends of play cards on curve. Like, that's not what it is. So anyone that says that is just really over exaggerating, and they're just very, you know, upset and are looking for reasons to be angry and show off their big ego because they play decks that have a bunch of spells in them or something. I don't know. But before we get into the gameplay, before I explain to you and go over the deck, I wanted to remind you guys that 68% of the people that watch my videos aren't actually subscribed to me. So if you could do me a huge, huge favor, click that subscribe button. Like I said, we're back with the consistent competitive content, competitive entertainment. So we've been putting out about 5 videos every week. So get your fix if you want to learn how to play a deck. If you have a deck that you want to learn how to play, from deck guides or gameplay like this, you want to see me do it, make sure to subscribe and let me know down in the comments below what deck you want to see. And if you have a friend or if you yourself are getting into competitive Runeterra, because the new season is less than a month away, the first official new competitive season that'll qualify you for the World Championships and potentially win you a lot of money from the Opens, you know, this is the place to be. Either recommend your friend here so they can learn and catch up to curve and be ready to stomp people when the next season starts, or, you know, you yourself make sure to stick around and learn from each of my, you know, in-depth deck guides. So that's going to be it for the intro. Let's go ahead and go over quickly what each card does, and then we're going to get into some gameplay. So I'm going to go over the purpose of each card, why you're playing it, and how you should be using it effectively. Cytheria Cloutfield is basically just a 1 mana elite. It's a 1 mana 2/2, which is fine, helps you against aggro decks, as well as it buffs your like Squire and your Tracker, makes them cost 1 less, so it can in some ways be looked at as a 0 mana 2/2. Silence and Suppress, this is just because you need a good silence, and Jax Ornn is still around, so being able to destroy a unit's equipment is really nice, but just being able to silence something is pretty good too. Like I said, Trusty Ram House is a 1 mana 3/3, as well as the cheap units are really needed to decrease the cost of your Vanguard Squire and your Ardent Tracker. Battlesmith's really the star of the show here. He just grants all of your elites +1/+1 whenever you play them. There used to be a Yordle card like this, and it got swiftly banned because it was too good. Or sorry, it didn't get banned, but it just got nerfed to unplayability. It's called Yordle Scout, I think. Yordle, it's not Yordle Captain. What was this card called, chat? Oh, Yordle Explorer. Yeah, this used to say the same thing. This is whenever you summon another Yordle, grant it +1/+1. But it got nerfed because it was too good. So now we basically just have the elite version of that. It says whenever you summon an elite, grant it +1/+1. So very interesting. I'm just not sure if this card will get nerfed. I think there are a lot less elites than Yordle, so that's probably one of the biggest things. But basically, this card's here to start buffing all your stuff. Some combat tricks here. So Sharp Sight's good combat trick in Demacia, as well as lets you block elusives. Single Combat's just a really good combat trick. Lets your 5 power unit kill anything you need it to. Vanguard Defender. So very solid 2-drop. Again, if you play it with Battlesmith, you get a 2-mana 3/3 tough, which is so insanely hard to deal with. Just tough in general, early game is hard to deal with. It's also a good way to decrease the cost of your Ardent Tracker. Oftentimes you can go turn 1 unit, like turn 1 elite, turn 2 defender, turn 3 blocking Badger Bear, and then now all of your Ardent or your Vanguard Squires cost 0 mana because you played a unit on 1, a unit on 2, and a unit on 3, and you just get an extra 3/3 for no reason because this card let you curve out. Sometimes you can just play where's he at? Oh, I went too far. Sometimes you just play Battlesmith on 2, and then turn 3 you get to play Ram Hound into Defender, and then now your board is a 4/4 and a 3/3 tough unit on turn 3, and that's going to be extremely hard for your opponent to deal with. So that's why this card's in here. It's kind of filler, but it being an elite makes this deck better than most 2-drops you could just put in its spot. Blocking Badger Bear is just a very solid card. 3 mana 4/4 is a very good stat line premium. Being able to block elusive units for free is premium. And then, of course, it getting buffed by Battlesmith, you just casually get to play a 3 mana 5/5, which is going to outstat everything at that point in the game. Vanguard Sergeant, it's an elite, so 3 mana 4/4. Stat line's pretty mid. 3 mana 4/4 is premium. The 3 mana 3/3 is very mid stat line, but it does give you a 4 Demacia, so in the late game you can kind of pop off with that if you need to. Vanguard Squires can be a way to cheat out 0 mana 4/4 or 0 mana 3/3 depending on what your early game curve is. This card has actually been really underplayed and really underrepresented since basically the launch of LOR, because this card was in Foundations. Like, this card was in the base launch of the game, and I think it's always been underrepresented and underplayed, and I'm really glad it's finding its time in the spotlight. Bannerman, because you're playing a mono Demacia deck, so you're not going to miss Allegiance, and just being able to buff your entire board is really nice, especially when you're playing these 0 mana units. So if your curve is something like Cithria on 1, Battlesmith on 2, Houndsmith Defender on 3, into, a free Squire, now you're going to be 6 wide for a Bannerman on turn 4. And that's pretty crazy. So that's insane. And just being able to buff the rest of your board is really nice. And then for those of you that don't know, Bannerman actually got nerfed. It used to buff itself to a 4/4. Well, now with Battlesmith, you could just put it right back to that 4/4 stat line, which was really good. Concerted Strike is just a nice, combat trick, be able to kill anything you need to, especially in the mirror matches. It's really nice to kill other people's Garens or Jarvans without letting them strike. Garen himself is a good champion. Levels, rallies every single turn, has regeneration. It again gives you a pseudo Bannerman effect where it just buffs your entire board, and on turn 5 you're almost guaranteed to be 6 wide. So that's really nice. Getting 2 Garens and having Garen's Judgment is a card that's really, really hard for your opponents to play around. And they either have to play around it and then attack incorrectly, or they don't play around it, and then if you have it, you just completely blow them out and win the game on the spot. And that's really, really good, especially in closed deck list. That Garen's pretty decent at that. Ardent Tracker is a 3/5 elite with Scout. It reduces its cost by 1 whenever you summon an elite. So oftentimes you can play this for 3 or 4 mana. So 3 mana 3/5 Scout is good. 4 mana 3/5 Scout is also very good. With it having that elite tag means it's going to get the buffs from the Battlesmith. It's going to reduce, any other copies of itself further. It's going to reduce your Blade Squires further. So it's very good for those reasons also. Jarvan is really nice. I think Jarvan, again, has just been kind of underplayed for a while, but people started putting him like 1-ofs here and there in decks, and I've been a huge fan of putting 1 to 2-ofs in basically every Demacia deck ever that I've played, basically since Poppy Bard. I've even started was playing 1 Jarvan in that deck because it's a mirror breaker and it's just very good pressure. And then King Jarvan the third, because you really want that King Jarvan the fourth, especially when he levels. And this deck, he levels up quite often because your units are so big, your opponent kind of has to just chump block. And then Jarvan just levels really quickly, and then you just get Cataclysms. Boom, you're killing a free unit every single turn, and you can just start doing crazy stuff with that. And then a couple champion strengths on the top end here. I've seen people play 1, I've seen people play 3. I went to the middle and played 2, because I think this card is still very, very strong and, forces your opponent to have an answer to your board. But I don't want to go 3 because I don't want to draw 1 early, and I don't want to draw 2. But I want to draw 2 because I kind of want to see 1 every single game, essentially. I don't want to run out of steam. I want to be able to have my big units, and then go to my turn and say, like, okay, well, well, you also have a 6-wide board, I have a 6-wide board, my units are going to grow really big, and I'm going to attack you twice. So you're going to chump block everything the first time around. But then you only get one action to really refill your board for the second attack and the second time around. And oftentimes they just can't do that. And this card's a really, really, really good game closer. So that's what the purpose of all the cards in the deck. So now you know how to use them correctly. Now you know kind of why they're in there in case you want to make changes. If you see like, oh, I really need a good, like, you know, early game, I'm getting beat down by aggro a lot in my elo. Well, you could take out the silence and suppress and just put in a second Cithria. So there's a lot of things you can do to change it for whatever your pocket meta is, or if you're playing in a tournament, whatever you expect for the tournament, you can just take out something that doesn't do what you need it to do, and then replace it with a card that does what you need it to do. So that's why I go over what every card does, even though some of them are very simple, like, oh, 1 mana 2/2. Well, obviously you're going to play that. It's like 1 mana 2/2 because it's good against aggro. So if you don't care about aggro, go ahead and take this out, play another, you know, like Ardent Tracker. Boom. Now you're better into control. Now you're better into mid-range. But the code to this will be down in the description below. Adjust it however you need to for your pocket metas. But that's going to be it for the talking. Let's play some games. Alright, we're against Mono Fiora. So that's pretty scary because I don't actually think our deck can deal with a Fiora. Like, I don't think we can really deal with we probably could have got rid of the Vanguard. How do we... Yeah, we can't deal with, like, a Fiora that has can't die. So we kind of just have to try to kill the Fiora early and pressure it. We also can just try to go really wide and pressure it that way. So let's go and just try to do that. Let's just try to apply as much pressure as possible. I'll play the rear guard. Okay, sure. Like, they can't play Fiora on 3 because of Fiora nerf. So if they don't have a Fiora, we could potentially just be chilling. Ruthless Raider. Okay, so maybe it's not Mono Fiora. Maybe this is just some weird deck that opponent's playing, and they're trying to be sneaky about it. I don't know. Very weird stuff. Very weird stuff. I don't think I've seen this deck yet. Whenever I see these, like, a Mono Fiora, like, as the only champion in these colors, I just kind of assume it's Mono Fiora. You're gonna attack with that? Sure, man. I'll block. I'll block. You can make your Fiora +1/+1. That's pretty interesting. Yeah, most of the time when I see these decks, they play, like, the only units they play really are Fiora. So it's really interesting to see it not be that. But, I mean, if they just slam a Fiora here, it just immediately dies to my blocking Badger Bear, even if it got +1/+1. So they can't do that. And instead, we're just going to apply a lot of pressure. We're just going to apply a lot of pressure here. 4-2, sure. Here's more pressure. And we just continue to apply pressure. Pressure, pressure, pressure. That's the name of the game. We have Jarvan. I'm sorry, not Jarvan. We have Garen on 5 next turn. And we do have Jarvan. So we still have ways to kill off a Fiora, which is good. They are not going to be able to play the Starkin Spear, and we're kind of ahead. And then on turn 6, we're just going to open attack with the Jarvan. And then if they did play a Fiora here for some reason, and it didn't die to my Garen plus single combat, then this Jarvan is just going to kill it. So, like, yeah, you have a 5/6, very cool. I think I am just going to go ahead and single combat this. Maybe not. There's no reason to. We can just swing, have Jarvan pull it, be happy. Don't worry, be happy now. Good job, Jarvan. Gets +1/+1 thanks to Mr. Battlesmith. We have the single combat for the Fiora. So we're kind of chilling here. And yeah, this game looks kind of done. Our opponent both, like, didn't really have a Fiora, but kind of spent their whole time doing nothing. So this is just really a game to show you that Elite is good enough to beat just random junk. We're going to go ahead and strike this just so we can level up our Garen and have lethal next turn. Just so we can level up Garen, immediately rally, immediately attack. And this is just proving the point that Elite is a very strong deck and is in fact strong enough to kind of just beat random stuff you see on ladder, beat random stuff you see in tournaments, beat random stuff you see in gauntlets. So yeah, that was ever a worry for you. There you go. Now you know. Now you know the deck is strong. That's one of the tests that decks have to pass in order to be considered like a good deck or a top deck, is to be able to pass the, like, can you beat random junk? Can you beat the random cheesy decks? And this deck very much, I mean, does that. Very much does that. That's a very large elk. Very large elk. I assume I'm getting frostbitten here. Do 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 do. Just like single. Sure. I mean, we can do this for starters. So the reason you want to order it with single combat first and then concerted is because if they have some sort of buff here, like if they have, I don't know, like another single, or let's just say they have something to affect this, concerted strike will go off before the fight actually happens, so you will get your strikes first before the opponent gets to strike you back. So that doesn't really matter here, but it's just good practice that if you have single combat and concerted, you probably concerted or single combat first, because that's the one that in worst case scenarios is usually the one that kind of hurts you more than having your concerted fail. Same with like denies or anything like that, as your concerted will deal more damage and your concerted is more safe for your units compared to a single combat. Okay, so this is Keg controller, Keg OTK. I assume we're just going to be too fast for them. We're probably just going to be able to kill them before they can do crazy stuff. We also have enough units to constantly apply pressure so they can't stack up kegs over multiple turns. We have single combats to like directly kill their keg maker girl the turn it comes down. No 1-drop, no 2-drop. This hand looks kind of slow. His hand's like very slow actually, so not the best hand, but we do have interaction. We still do have our threats. We still have our stacking boy, so we just play our badger boy. Very large boy. Don't care. And then we could play Bannerman, but I think yeah, Bannerman is the most mana efficient play, even though I kind of lose out on some of the buffs. I think I'm gonna play it just because it's the most mana efficient play. Wow, the great Mirai Warden. Okay, that's fine. We can just swing like this because we don't want to sacrifice our Bannerman yet, because we know it's going to get buffed by like Garen, and we can do buff this single combat. Potentially we killed the 3/3 somehow, and we're really happy about that. Yeah, so let's go ahead and we can play this. And this goes down to 1. And we can Garen next turn with like double single combat available and be very happy with everything going on. Their TF's fairly dead in this matchup outside of like gold card, but we should be okay. Here's this for a threat. What is this? Pick a card. Okay, so I assume there's some sort of like combo deck or meme deck that's trying to like just combo off with this Mirai Great Mother. The fact that they're playing spells in their deck that aren't this is kind of weird. I would have kind of guessed that if you're playing Mirai Great Mother with like River Shaper, you probably wouldn't be playing decently, or you wouldn't be playing a decent amount of spells, because you would just want the River Shaper to have the highest odds to pull your cheap spells. Especially, I assume they're also playing Zap Sprayfin, and Zap Sprayfin, while you're also playing cheap spells, doesn't make sense, because the meme idea is that you play Mirai Great Mother, you shuffle a bunch of 3 or less cost cards into your deck, and then you play Zap Sprayfin, which draws you 3 or less cost spells from your deck, and that's basically the combo. Yeah, with them playing these cheap cards, I don't fully understand it. So yeah, I'm not too sure. But let's go and just swing with everything. We can try and level up this Garen so we can rally next turn. I'll be... What is this? This is like a Homecoming or Concussive Palm. If it's Homecoming, we're pretty happy because we have single combat. If it's Concussive Palm, I'm sad. Oh, okay, so this person kind of just lost the game because we're going to level our Garen this combat. We almost like just have lethal, which is really funny. But it's okay. Almost have lethal, but yeah, we're leveling our Garen in 1 combat step. Homecoming is not a very good card against us. And now we're just forcing them to do stuff, because we're just going to rally next turn, right? At the start of the turn. So this deck is just very, very simple. I feel like I've said this 10 million times already, and we're only on game 2. And this deck is extremely, extremely, extremely simple and extremely, extremely, extremely easy to play. You like quite literally just put your cards on the table and tell your opponent to deal with them. And that's really how you play. That's just really how you play this deck. So here we can actually play like Vanguard Sergeant Bannerman and almost have the Ardent Tracker, but yeah, I think we'll probably just play Ardent Tracker into Bannerman, and this gives us lethal like multiple times, so that way if they do have Homecomings, Palm, stuff like that, we can at least like play around it. Eye of the Dragon, sure, that's fine. We'll buff these guys up. So we can represent lethality multiple times across multiple different ways. So, for instance, they like can't get hit by one of these, because if they do, then every single unit is lethal. If they do block both of these, then they, like, this is still lethal, this is still lethal. Any 2 units is still lethal. So they have to block all but 1 unit, basically, and they just can't do that. So cool. Nice little 2-0. Nice little 2-0, 2-0. Yeah, deck very easy. Very simple, very easy. Okay, so this looks like it's a Shellfolk deck again. So this is... Okay, we got some cards here. Okay, we're kind of moving. I don't know if I keep Garen or if I try and look for more aggressive stuff. Let's just try and look for more aggressive stuff. Let's try and look for our 2-drop. Ooh, trading out our 5-drop Garen for our 7-drop Jarvan the Third is not exactly what the game plan was, but that's okay. That's okay. Oh damn, if we draw another 2 or less cost elite, we could actually play this for free on turn 3, which is kind of crazy. Immediately popping that up. Oh, you can make this cost 2 more, I guess, but that won't really do too much in the long run. Yeah, I think making this be less effective is pretty good, because making this cost more doesn't really do too much, because we can reduce its cost. It just stops like the super high roll. So let's see. Damn, no cheap unit here. So let's just go and just curve this out on turn 2. So we have 2 3/3s. We can just swing. We do have a sharp sight to kind of block this if we need it. Damn, not letting us be able to block with the blocking. Come on, man, that's in his name. Okay, I personally think you shouldn't be able to give can't block to something with blocking in its name. Thoughts? What are the thoughts on that? Yeah, that stopped my thing. So the question is, do we stop the Nora or do we stop the Bandle Commando? I think personally we probably just stop the Nora. Like, they are going to get the Owlcat here and have to play it, but that's probably less effective overall than them having portals and having anything. Like, I'd rather them spend mana to get a 2-1 than not spend mana and get like a 3-3. You know, does that make sense? So that's what we're doing out here. We can still apply a decent amount of pressure. This, like, one of these 2 can die to the 2-1, but all in all, don't care, because if they do that, they're still taking 9 damage, which is half their life total. And, you know, that's fine by me. If they play another Nora here or something, we have Sharp Sight, which again is pretty good. They do absolutely nothing on turn 4, which is kind of crazy. We do have Sharp Sight here to be able to block this. So I think we are going to go ahead and do that, because I want them. They didn't have anything to play on turn 4, which tells me their hand's probably really bad. And just like a bunch of spells. Their hand's like a bunch of spells and like some Shellfolk or something. So we're just gonna go ahead and play cards. We're gonna play this. Okay, sure, you got your Keg. That's fine. I don't think I care too much about that. We do have Jarvan here, so we're probably just going to play Jarvan and swing. They can deal 3 to something, deal 3 to me. They have to discard a card out of their hand, though. Discarded a Shellfolk. That's fine. Oh, yeah, deal 4. That's right, because he got another one. Sure, that's fine by me. That guy was only a 3/3 anyways. Let's go and just slam this Jarvan down. Yep, slam the Jarvan down, and then next turn we could even Champion Strength if they just want to do, like, not too much. Sure. I think I'm just gonna hit you. I don't think I really care about this Keg, because we just have lethal. Yeah, we just have lethal, so we're just gonna go and push that. Extremely easy. Again, we kind of just clicked our cards and attacked our opponent. So, fairly quick and easy 3-0. Easy was 3-0. That's 45 LP. That took us like, oh, let me see here. Let's see. I have how much long games? 5-minute game, another 4.5-minute game. So we just played for like 13 minutes and gained 45 LP. 13 minutes. So if you multiply that by 3, you can get 160 LP per hour with this deck. This very, very simple, very, very not hard, easygoing deck. So yeah, deck's very cool. Like I said, deck code will be down in the description below. I took this off of some guy from Runeterra.ar, because again, I use Runeterra.ar for all of my stats and all of my deck lists. I just try and swift through the players that have the best records and scores, and then just kind of take a mixture of those, maybe take that as a starting point and then kind of edit it around a little bit. So that's how I do all my stuff. So deck is good. I mean, deck is good and easy. There's a reason it's the second most played deck. There's a reason it has a 55+% win rate. So all that stuff down in the description below. If you enjoyed this deck guide and you enjoyed this gameplay, again, make sure to leave a comment. Let me know what deck you want to see next. Subscribe so that way I can, know you guys enjoy this type of content and keep making this competitive content, deck guide style content for you guys. And that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.